today we hope that we inspire you to start your own business one day with vertical farming. Actually, Marco, our speaker, I'm sure that he will inspire you. Marco has dedicated his career to exploring innovative ways to grow more plants in urban areas, and his passion for eco-friendly agricultural practices has earned him recognition as a thought leader in the industry. And he will be talking about ways to grow more plants in urban areas today. Yes, so I give the word to Marco.
Cool, thank you for the invitation. Let me share my screen so you can see some cool urban farming images. So you can see it, I guess. Mm-hmm. Does it work? Oh, good. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, thanks for the invitation. I'm Marco Tidona from Aeroponic. I've been building urban farming components for the last 8 years. It's 5 different solutions so far now. And I have always had the focus of getting inspired by professional horticulture with the robustness of the equipment and all that thought and engineering that goes into this equipment, but make the translation to the urban area where the gardeners are actually the citizens, because I see a lot more space and relation, as you will see shortly here, to grow many more plants. And that's why the design of my equipment is done in a special way. I will show you shortly what the different solutions are and what areas I target with that. And I've chosen urban areas because we have lots of people there living. We have lots of metabolism, materials being cycled all the time. And we have the potential for a lot of synergy because the proximity of all these factors. I've been always a big believer in the holistic way, which means that everything is a system, basically, with a lot of variables. And if you change one, the whole thing is affected. And the same is also here in the urban area. Usually, when people think of urban farming, they might think of what they heard in the news, which is the big automated vertical farms or plant factories. That's one end of the spectrum, which is very technical, but usually involves a lot of investment and tries to automate people away, which is a factor that I don't like. They are important, they are doing an important job, but they're just trying to do another premium product for profit. And that's okay, but that's only one part of urban farming. For me, urban farming is much, much bigger. There was this running gag, I don't know if you visited Green Tech in Amsterdam in June, the big horticulture show in Europe. There was the running joke was that in the beginning, some of these companies who ran into problems financially, they said, oh, we use 95% less water, and the next one said, oh, it's 97% less water. And in the end, the joke was that some of those could practically make water. So that's a different perspective. And I regard all my equipment that I do as sort of a counter movement, grassroots counter movement. And I'm trying to build equipment to equip those urban farming heroes. And just to give you a quick overview of the dimensions, so of course you see plant factories here too, and also the container farms, the automated ones. But you can also see lots of different other types of urban farming. And the spectrum goes from the super technical and profit-oriented on one side to the non-for-profit and non-technical on the other side. And I am super curious to see how big the area in the center is. I have no idea, and I think it's really big. So the idea is that we identify areas in the urban area where we can grow more plants. And this means not just edible plants, but also plants that you use to suck up stormwater or for biodiversity or general vegetation in the urban area. And the idea is also that you do this co-creatively, because all these sites or locations that are usable for this are mostly shared areas or private areas of individuals or of companies. So there's another typology of the Association for Vertical Farming, which I really like. So to understand the bandwidth of urban farming, actually, there's different dimensions that you can consider to find different types of urban farming. Let's jump through a few of them. So let's say you have exposure to sunlight. Of course, you want to use it because it's important for your plant growth. Sometimes you just have partial natural sunlight, or sometimes you are completely inside and have to do artificial lighting or supplemental lighting if you have not enough. Sometimes it's inside the building, underneath the building, on the side, rooftop farming, you name it. And there's different types of organizations, of course, who can do this. So it's individuals, it's small companies or local entrepreneurs also, or big corporations. And they can do this for different purposes. So you could do this for profit, of course, but you could also do this just for research. You could grow medicinal plants, or you could grow for your local kitchen that you like to supply with some fresh vegetables. All in all, there's lots of touching points to the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I put the ones in gray that are not directly affected for the idea of co-creative urban farming. So you see not many gray ones, and for the activist types of characters amongst us who like to take it to the 20 awesome Anthropocene goals, there's also this and many more. So this is to inspire people for really far-reaching goals, using urban farming or changing what the planet actually needs here. And there are a few principles that I like to show you, or perspectives that help you to understand this better. So one of my favorite ones is the cradle-to-cradle principle, of course. So we have the idea that we don't produce any waste anymore. But in order to do this, we have to design things much differently. So there's no single-use plastic. It doesn't work in cradle-to-cradle. We try to have consumption materials or gadgets that have the longest lifetime possible, that can be repaired or refurbished, or even if you don't need them anymore, repurposed. Then there's lots of consumption items or machinery that not everyone needs his own electric drill or his own car. So you could share stuff, of course. This also sets the incentive that you get the better car because you share it and you lower the costs also. And that everything that remains needs to be able to be separated and cycled again. So you avoid putting the stuff into the dustbin. And it's just logical, because we don't get a care package from any asteroid coming by giving us more elements. So we have what we have, and we need to cycle them endlessly. Another perspective which is pretty interesting and which I love and also learn to think in those is the Sankey diagrams. So you see what goes in, what happens inside the machine or the metabolism, and what comes out again. So as I'm applying for a job, so I took the left one as a simple example. So you see, okay, the company receives lots of applications and invites people for interviews. Some don't answer, some get rejected directly. So then you have a few interviews, some offers that go out, and some where you say, okay, you are rejected. And then in the end, the candidate also has to say, I accept the offer or I don't. So you see how many go in on one side. Let's say it's 100 applicants, and on the other side you see, oh, there's one who took the job offer. And the same with a more practical example, same type of diagram for tomato production with water that goes in. So all the water that goes in basically ends up just 2% in the actual product. But on the way, you use a lot for irrigation, of course. It's being transpired through the plant, evaporates. And it's actually 3/4 of all the liquid that you put in that is just evaporating, basically. And there's a small fraction of the material or the water that gets contaminated with nutrients, for example, and that you need to treat before you can let it back into the environment. Another one, which is super interesting, is hyperlocal plant production. Means that we have a very short time between the actual technical harvest and the consumption or the possibility for consumption. And this is important because once you technically harvest a plant, it starts to degrade. So you can not stop this or reverse it. It just goes on. You can slow it a little down by cooling and all sorts of tricks, putting it in gas. But in the end, all our produce that we get from supermarkets has an average of 1,500 food miles. And usually if it's like tomatoes, it's also, or bananas, it's also harvested unripe, and it's ripened with in ethylene gas. So you eat an unripe plant that has been harvested weeks ago and cooled. So that's not cool. And of course, the nutrient content goes down with this very quickly. The no-brainer for every aspiring urban farmer actually is just go to a garden and pick like an arugula or mustard green leaf and take it from the plant and chew it right away. And then you see all the complexity of all these secondary metabolites that are not in the plant or in your food anymore if you put it through the whole value chain that goes through the supermarket. So this is a big plus, much better nutrition if you go for urban farming and get your stuff hyper locally.